Hey everybody, welcome back to Street Level Strategies. My name is Bobbi Jo, and today I am joined by Kevin Kendall, loan officer at Westerra Credit Union. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Good, Bobbi Jo. How are you?
I'm doing so good. I'm so good. I'm happy you're here, and I'm happy you're, coming on to just talk a little bit about how you're leveraging the system. But first off, why don't you go ahead and just give a quick intro to you?
Yeah. So I've been a loan officer now for about 15 or 16 years. I've been at Westerra for about a year and a half. And just love being a loan officer because I know the value of, home ownership. And I've seen over those 15 or 16 years, just the enormous benefit that people can get by becoming a homeowner and achieving their home ownership dreams.
100%. I know I bought my home about 4 years ago, and I think it was the best decision of my life. But if I was never pushed to be hey, get your first home, it'll be way better than renting. You think it's overwhelming, but I mean, and homeownership is a whole thing, but
It is.
It is amazing. And to have someone who, and I think that's one of the coolest things about loan officers when I talk to them. When I talk to loan officers, they're just so passionate about getting people into homes and being able to help them do that and the dream of home ownership. So I love talking to loan officers, especially if that's their core for why they do what they do.
Yeah.
But Kevin, I know that you at Westerra, you guys are leveraging the Total Expert system. And, and one of the things that I want to chat with you today is just some of the ways that you are leveraging the system and you're finding value and success on a day-to-day basis. So I'd love to just chat a little bit about some of those things and the ways that you're seeing value currently.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we love the system. To be honest with you, it's a big reason why I actually chose Westerra when I was shopping around for a new lender to go to. CRM was a big deal. So when I could see what Total Expert did, that was a big draw point for me. Using the credit CI alerts and the home equity alerts and things like that, it allows me to stay in touch with membership. It may not result in an immediate, result as far as a loan application, but building that relationship and making sure that they know that we're here allows, down the road that we stay top of mind for them.
100%. And I think that's one of the key things about CI, right? Sometimes it's great and it turns to a deal. The other piece of Total Expert, right, is just all the things that we can enable with you, for you as a loan officer, just to be able to get back in touch with the client, right? And I think that's the thing is, right, I think there's a stat that's you have to contact someone 7 times before they actually, they actually become or come back to you. And I think that's the key is we have to keep staying in front of them. And you as a loan officer and being a loan officer for so long know the value of that.
Right.
And I think loan officers take that for granted in terms of and that's what you're saying. I came to Westerra because I knew that they had these tools because it's so valuable to stay in front of your borrower and your leads, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
100%.
So recently, talk a little bit about where have you seen success with these, alerts that you're getting? How do you approach them? Are there any things that you would say, this is where I really see success and what works for me? If there's another loan officer here saying, hey, how are you seeing success and how are you approaching these?
Well, we get, what's great about the system is we get alerts. So we'll get a notice that someone has had their credit pulled or there's some activity. So I usually start with an email, which I can send right from the system, just saying, hey, are you in the market? But I think it's important to follow up with a phone call.
Yep.
And then, depending on where they are in their process, oftentimes if it's early, it can result in something. Otherwise, just stay in touch and continue to call them regularly. In this market, it's not like it was 3 years ago. So those phone calls and those touches make a huge difference. Whereas in the past, it kind of just happened like that. So I think a lot of MLOs can be very transactional based. And so it allows us to be more relationship based, which I think the consumer likes.
And that's one thing that I will say sets, Westerra and other credit unions, I think, apart, right? You really value the relationship rather than, just a transaction. And transactions are great. It's money. It's awesome. But when it comes to that, I think that where you guys set yourselves apart is, that there's also value in nurturing that relationship for a long time, because then they will come back to you when it's time. And in the long run, there's the benefit, right? Yeah. That's
absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that that's one of the key things that I've noticed about, right, Westerra. But I love that you're also saying that you pair it together, right? Here's an email, but then I also follow up. And I think the transaction time for folks these days, I mean, I was just talking to another loan officer and he's like, it's like 7 months, right? It's up to a year, right? It's longer than ever when it used to be like this, right? And so now there's really the benefit of how do I actually nurture my client for, up to 7 to a year, it could even be longer than that, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think you have to be skilled at doing that and willing to put in the work. And what 100%. Total Expert allows is it allows you to have a system and a plan to do that work.
Yep. And one last thing I know you mentioned earlier, right when we started, you talked about, coming off of other systems. I'd love to hear just a little bit about where you see, and why you were so excited about Total Expert versus some of the other systems that you've leveraged. What are some of the key benefits, anything like usability or, efficiency? Where do you see some of the key differences in other systems you've leveraged for CRM wise?
Yeah, efficiency is one. What I find from where I was before is that it's more intuitive, and we get those notifications. The systems that I've been on the past, my previous lender, we wouldn't really get those notifications. I had an assistant that kind of had to fish through the database to find those data points. We get notified when there's a 6 month and a year, mortgage annual review. Again, we had to search for those in the old CRM. And the other thing that's really nice is that Total Expert is integrated into our loan origination system. Right. So that data comes over to Total Expert. If we do a quote and we work with the client, get, some basic information, all of a sudden they'll go into our database and become someone that we can market to. Right. And so it's really keeping everything in one spot. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I find with other platforms and things I talk with loan officers who come to Total Expert is like, stuff is everywhere, right? You don't know where to go. And so 2 things, right? Like everything's there. And then it's also actually literally surfacing up information to you. It's not saying, hey, you loan officer have to go through and mine and have your Excel spreadsheet and do all this stuff. It's, hey, this is the top of, this is the best resource for you. And this is the best opportunity right now that you can reach out to, and making it more user-friendly for the loan officer. Well, Bobbi Jo, if I could add, that what you're saying reminds me, the interface of where I was versus what Total Expert has is like night and day. Right. It's user-friendly, navigating the software is easy. It's amazing how clunky other systems are. Both, both the loan origination system and CRM. It is amazing how clunky systems can be.
Until you get to a system that actually works, then you're like, oh, okay, this is how it's supposed to be.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And that's what we try to do, right? We want to make sure it's the most valuable for you as the loan officer, and make sure it's user-friendly so you can actually get in there and start to leverage the system and in ways that make sense for you. So that's awesome. Yeah. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you just talking through some of the ways that you're seeing value in the system. And, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks, Bobbi Jo.
Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.